Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. So today we're going to be talking about another book. So this is another episode of Beauty and the Bibliophile. Today we're going to be talking about, I believe this is a young adult. I will double check, but I'm pretty sure it's a young adult. This is The Gentleman's Guide to Vice and Virtue. It is by Mackenzie Lee. Oh, super cute. Just like spit everywhere. A super cute book. I really enjoyed it. That's why I'm thinking it's a young adult, because they're 18, just kind of like discovering themselves, and not really discovering themselves, but just it's set back in like the 1700s. So we'll get into it. But anyway. Yeah, I went ahead and, like I said, I do have the book, I do have the hard copy, but I went ahead and I listened to it just because it was on sale one day from Audible, and I kind of listened to a sample, and I was like, I really like the narrator on, like, I really was, like, getting into the story with the narrator, and a lot of times the narrator, like, does it for me. If I see a book that I want to read or listen to, or read if I have it on my shelf, I'll kind of just play the sample and just see what the audio sounds like, and 90% of the time it's like a thumbs up for me, and I prefer listening to it than, sorry about that, I better put this on silent because that'll happen throughout the whole video. But that's kind of how I decide whether I want to listen or kind of read the book, and sometimes I just like to read a book. And speaking of that, I am almost done with You. I had a tough time with You. The name of the book is You, and there's also a Lifetime series on it, but I believe it's going to be going to just Netflix for the next season. Don't quote me on that. I don't know for sure. I haven't watched the season yet. I've only seen the pilot, which made me want to read the book first. So I'm almost done with the book. I think I have like maybe 5 chapters to go. No, I might have a little bit more than that, but it's been pretty quick now because it's getting to the end, and it's kind of getting a little bit better. It's not so drawn out, but we'll talk about that. Definitely gonna talk about that. But I do want to watch the show before I actually like get on here and talk about it, so we can talk about the difference between the book and the show. So anyway, so yeah, that'll be coming up. But yeah, The Gentleman's Guide to Vice and Virtue is it's pretty long. Let me see. What video details? It is narrated by Christian Colson. It's like an English British accent, which I absolutely love, and it's 10 hours and 47 minutes long. So it's basically about a young bisexual British lord. He's 18 years old, so he's like growing into his manhood, and his father wants him to like take over the estate and all this stuff. We'll get into all that. Really, really cute little story. I really enjoyed listening to it. It was a little something different than what I normally listen to. Go ahead and get started with this face, because I know y'all don't like looking. It's not pleasant to look at. I just really enjoyed it, but we'll get into more of that in just a minute. So what we're going to be doing today, usual, simple, quick, everyday makeup routine that I pretty much do every day, except I'm not going to be using my Prep and Prime. I kind of went back. This is the MAC Prep and Prime, the highlighting pen, the Radiant Rose that I love, but I kind of went back to my Bare Minerals concealer, the Well Rested. It's just a lot easier, quicker, and it does the same thing. It just brightens everything up and covers those dark circles. Like I said, it's just quicker. So we're going to be using that. I'm going to be using my IT Cosmetics Celebration Foundation. This is the one with the SPF 50+. Also going to be using my IT Cosmetics Bye Bye Pores Illumination Powder. This is IT Cosmetics Day. IT Cosmetics Bye Bye Pores Bronzer. Absolutely love this bronzer. The IT Cosmetics Bye Bye Pore Blush and Naturally Pretty. IT Cosmetics Hello Light Cream Highlighter. One of my favorite the only cream highlighter that I like, because I'm super oily. And then just really one eyeshadow, and this, I'm pretty sure I used this on here before. This is a Makeup Forever eyeshadow. I know the color, I want to call the color Pink Shimmer or something like that. I'll have it linked down below, but they only have the number on here, which is 7X03. Anastasia Clear Brow Gel, and a new mascara we'll talk about. And for lips, we're going to use the MAC. I used this in my last video, the Make Me Proud, the little, like, glossy lip pencil kind of thing. Alright, so let's get started. This book, I'm pretty sure it's a young adult book. It doesn't have any sexual content in it, if that kind of makes you uncomfortable, especially being like a, sort of like an, I guess, I want to say gay romance, or maybe male on male romance. I'm not sure what you would call that genre, but there's no sexual content. There's just, it just talks about it, you know, it talks about two young guys kind of falling in love, but you know, nothing, you don't witness, you don't read anything that happens. It's just kind of their journey of kind of falling in love with each other in the 1700s. It's, you know, forbidden basically. I don't know what made me grab this book. I think I grabbed it like last year. Bring my mirror in closer. At Barnes & Noble. I think I had been seeing it on all my like reading sites, and it had really good reviews, and yeah, so I just like, well, this is something different. I do like young adult, and I hadn't read young adult in like eons, probably since The Selection, I guess. That's a really good series if you like young adult. The Selection by I don't remember who it's by. I'll put it down below for y'all, but that's a really good series. So anyway, yeah, the book kind of starts out with apparently Percy, who is Monty's best friend, and the story is based on Monty's point of view, because Monty is going to be he's considered a lord because he's the heir to his father's estate, so he's a lord. So he's at 18. He's going to be he's, I guess, training to become, I don't know, the king of his manor. I'm not sure how, you know, what the historical term is for that. I'm not a big historical novel reader. I've read maybe not even a handful of them, and just maybe one I kind of enjoyed, but all the others I just like, I just kind of got bored with the language and just the way that they, you know, talked back then. Like, I love Pride and Prejudice and Sense and Sensibility, but like the movies, like I tried reading Pride and Prejudice, and I think I listened to it, and I was just like, what? Like, I had to like go back a couple times because I was trying to reference it with the movie, and of course a lot more things happen than what you see in the movie, of course, with the book. But it was a little difficult for me, but I do love those movies. Okay, anyway, back to this book. So yeah, Monty is the point of view that you're getting the story from. His friend Percy is his best friend. His family, I think, is close to Percy's family. Percy is actually considered a, excuse my language, but bastard child. He was conceived, you know, his father had the slaves and housemates and things. His father, you know what I mean. His father was, you know, head of the household, and there were slaves and household people of color, I guess, and in those days, and he had an affair with one of his maids, I guess, I don't know, whatever you would call that, and the result is Percy. So Percy is mixed in the 1700s, so that's kind of different, and so he's treated well, but he's raised by his aunt and uncle. His father died, and of course the mother, I'm not sure what happened to the mother. They don't really say in the book, but he's raised by his aunt and uncle, I believe, at the request of his father. And so they raise him the best that they can. At those times it was difficult, I guess, to raise a considered colored child. But he wasn't, in slavery or anything. He was brought up as their own, but they weren't really, very loving towards him. But they still gave him a home and treated him well. But anyway, him and Monty became very good friends. And kind of just as children just started falling for each other with not even really knowing. They were just like, oh, he's my bestest friend in the whole world and I love him kind of thing, and I'll do anything for him. It starts off with Monty and Percy in bed together. Not in that way, but that's kind of where you learn that Monty cares for Percy in sort of that way. Like he would want to be with Percy, and he's counting the day to where that they can be together like that. He talks about how beautiful Percy is, and just things like that. So you get the gist of his feelings, and it is known right in the first part of the book that he has had men before as well as women. He likes them both. But he's known to do it, and his father just kind of passes it off as like, oh, well, young children growing up, they like to experiment and things like that. So I guess that's how that was back in that day, but, that's just not something that you did. And I guess, like, if you were caught doing it later in life, that was a bad outcome. I don't know. They don't really get into that, but you kind of get that sense. They kind of talk about that a little bit. So him and Percy are supposed to go on like this last hurrah before they become actual men. They're going to be going on what they call a tour. So they're going to be touring like Europe and things like that, and for a year, just to kind of get it out of their system. Whatever, like his father's like has this talk with him. His father's like a complete asshole, and has this talk with him, and he's like, basically get it out your system or whatever, but I don't want you to get caught with, if I hear that you get caught with any boys, don't come back or something like that. So the father does send him and Percy off with like a chaperone, I guess. That's not what they call it in the book, but basically sending him off with a guide, basically a chaperone, to kind of guide them through their tour without them getting into trouble, or without Monty getting into trouble. And along the tour, when along this tour, they are to take Monty's sister. So I just filmed a lot and just lost it all. That's why I have all this on, and you didn't get to see any of it. And I talked about the whole book, and only one part was on there. Like, I went to download it on, because I ran out of space and I was going to finish talking about the book, but I wanted to get whatever I had on the camera off. So I went to downloaded it. That makes no sense. I went to download it on my computer, and my computer deleted that whole second segment. So all you got is like the very first part, which is not a lot. Okay. I was going to just like mix it all and just say like I'll do this on another day, because this has kind of taken up a lot of time already. But I'm kind of into it. I'm kind of into talking about the book, and I just want to go ahead and kind of continue. So I'll have to go back a little bit, and I'll try to maybe explain it a little bit better, a little bit faster. So I think the last part I left off, I was telling y'all about that Monty, Percy, and his sister were going to be going off on this tour. His sister's name is Felicity. They are going to be going on a tour to England, and they're going to be followed along, like this tour guide is going to be bringing them along, a friend of the families or whatever, someone to watch over them, chaperone them, basically. So the sister is supposed to go off to like this boarding school, or finishing school, I should say, not boarding school, finishing school. And then Percy is supposed to go off to law school, and then this is after the tour is over with. I'm sorry, I'm kind of skipping. See, I'm not sure exactly where I left off, so just bear with me from the first part. I'll try to edit that to where this kind of fits in. But yeah, they're going on tour for a year, and the plan was to drop Felicity off at finishing school, and Percy and Monty were going to have their year together. This is Monty's idea, basically, because he wants to have his year with Monty. Not basically get Monty out of his system, but to freely, before he becomes the lord of the manor, takes over for his father, and has to marry and produce children or produce heirs, he wants to have this time with Percy, because he loves him. And in the 1700s, that's not something you were supposed to do. It's just not. You just can't do it. So anyway, he wants to go off on this tour with Percy so they can have their time together before they have to become men in the real world, and they can't have each other, basically. Well, things don't go according to plan, as you would probably think, because this is early on in the book. And they end up in the first part of their tour. So, of course, Monty is not happy about this chaperone or whoever's coming with them. I think his name is Lockwood. I think they call him Mr. Lockwood. And he's like their tour guide or whatever. So he's basically trying to keep Monty in line for his father, because his father told him, if I get wind of you misbehaving, basically, or trolloping around with boys, you are not to come back. And, you are disowned from this family or whatever. So anyway, this Mr. Lockwood is supposed to keep all this, keep Monty under control. Well, the first part of the tour is going the way Monty's father and Mr. Lockwood wanted to go. Mr. Lockwood is, sending them or making reservations for their operas and dinners and parties. People had parties at their estates in these days, and he wants, Monty's father wants Mr. Lockwood to show him around to the dukes and all the important men out there in the world. I think his father is French, hence why they're going well, I say it's a tour of Europe. They're going to be going to France and Barcelona, and I guess that's a tour of Europe. I don't know. So anyways, yeah, so his father is French, and so he's sending him off to meet all these French lords and dukes and things like that. Well, they end up at like this party, and it's the Duke's the Duke's party. I'm not sure. Well, yes, it's not the Duke's party, but whoever the Duke. I don't know how all that works. It's his boss's party, basically. But the Duke, runs everything. Well, Monty's kind of like had enough, and he's like, look, this is my time with my best friend, and I'm done. Like, he tried to be civil and like be who his father wants him to be, because Percy was kind of like, look, you really need to stop being you, and sort of, you have to be this lord. You have to be more respectable, things like that. So he's trying. Well, it kind of goes south when he tries, and him and Percy are kind of like having a little tiff. There is more to the there is more to this. I want you to, if you want to read the book. So I'm not going to give you all the details, but there's more to their little tiff or whatever. So if you read it, you'll find out why they're kind of like at odds with each other right now. So anyway, long story short, Monty gets caught with a French maid in the Duke's apartment. Him and the Duke have like a little you know, they're not meshing well when they meet. So in Monty's head, he's like, I'm gonna steal something from his apartment to, you know, just be like, hey, you're an asshole, so I'm gonna take this from you, kind of thing. And that's when he learns that he's in the Duke's room. It kind of all goes south. So, you know, he is bisexual, so he's trying to get with this French maiden as well. And it turns out, like, I think, like, this French maiden is sort of works for the Duke, I think. But anyway, he gets caught with his pants down, basically. The Duke walks in on them. After that little incident, Mr. Lockwood is just like, I've had it, you know, there are other, you know, there are other things that go, you know, Monty's just not, he's not into it. He's not, like, cooperating. So Mr. Lockwood is just kind of like, I've had it with you. We are bringing your sister to school. We're dropping Mr. Percy off at law school, and you are going home to your father. So they're, like, on their way to do all these things, you know, and they're trying, like, Monty's trying to figure out how he can get it to where they don't go back home, and they get her sister to school, and so him and Percy can have their time. Basically, he's trying to figure out how to get rid of Lockwood. Well, they're in their little carriage, and they're going wherever, and they get, like, mugged, basically. Well, it turns out this isn't just a regular mugging. So they find out that the Duke's army has come after them for whatever Monty has taken out of the Duke's apartment. He took some sort of, like, little box. I think it's called, like, a Lazarus box or something like that. It's sort of like the little thing that they have in the Da Vinci Code, if you've ever seen that with Tom Hanks, or if you've read the book. I've read the book and I've watched the movie. I love it. It's one of my favorite movies. But anyway, it's sort of like that little box, but you have to have the code. Otherwise, like in the Da Vinci Code, it'll destroy whatever's inside the box. But I think in this case, whatever is in the box is lethal and can get out and, like, destroy the world, kind of thing. Sort of like a disease of some sort, I guess. So they don't want to, they learn this, like, from some, I want to call them, like, gypsy women, because they come across when they're on the run from the Duke's army. I don't know what happens to Lockwood. I don't remember if he, I'm kind of, like, re-listening to it because I don't really, I was trying to remember what happened to him, and I was like, I don't remember what happened to him, and I don't even know if, like, that ever comes to pass. I don't think it does. I don't think it ever comes to pass. You never find out what happened to Lockwood. You find out that he's safe, but other than that, you don't really know where he's at, or you don't know what happened. So they kind of, you know, end up apart from Lockwood. So it's just Monty, Percy, and Felicity on the run from this Duke's army. So they run across, like, this fair where they have, you know, like, gypsy type people. So these old gypsy type ladies come in, and they tell him about the box. Well, before this happens, they find out that Percy has an illness. I don't know if I should tell you about the illness or whatnot, but Percy definitely has a different journey than what Monty is told. Monty was not supposed to find out about Percy, what's wrong with him and, like, where he's going, but his journey to law school is just basically like a cover-up of what is really supposed to happen to Percy. I don't want to give that up in case you want to read the book, because that's kind of a big part in the book. It's kind of why the book continues on, and how, you know, and how they come across things, and what they end up looking for. So, but they find out that whatever is in this little box is sort of like a cure-all for illnesses. So of course Monty wants it for Percy. So they kind of go. So the little gypsy ladies tell them that they have to give it back to the real owner. It cannot be brought back to the Duke. Cannot have it because the Duke stole it from this guy. I don't remember his name. So they have to give it back to the real owner of the box. So that's kind of how the journey starts. And so in Monty's head, he's like, all right, you know, because he's just kind of like, no, he's not simple, but he's just like, he's always gotten his way. So he's just kind of like, okay, so we're gonna go on this journey, even though we don't have any money. We'll figure it out on the way. They try to go to, like, they go to his father's bank or whatever, and I think money gets sent to them, or it's a minor. You'll read that in the book, but so that's kind of like how the rest of the book continues on. So they go, and Monty said, we're gonna go on this journey. We're gonna find this guy. And we're going to open this box, and we're going to have a cure for Percy. It's not a deathly illness, okay? So I will tell you that. It's not like he's going to die, but, Monty doesn't want whatever is going to happen to him. He doesn't want that for Percy. So anyway, so then the journey continues. Of course, it doesn't go that way. That's what I'm trying to say. Okay, I can get it out. The journey doesn't go the way Monty has it in his head. Of course, they run into all sorts of obstacles. They end up like at this guy is some sort of like doctor of science of some sort. There's a name for him in the book, but I don't know what it is. So they find out where he lives. So they go there, and the only people there are his son and his daughter. Like there's no maids or anything. Like the son and the daughter run this household, and they tell Monty that their father's dead. So of course Monty's trying to find a way for the son. So the son is basically the heir now. So he's trying to find out from the son what's in this box. How can we open it? And without trying to say, I want it for my friend, So they kind of run into them, and they're a little sketchy. You'll get that. You'll learn about them. They're a little sketchy in the beginning, but you kind of become fond with them. I'll continue on with my look from there. Because I think that's kind of where I left off. I think I kind of caught y'all up. But I did just put the mascara, the eyeshadow, just one eyeshadow. Just use it. It's kind of like my go-to everyday look, just one eyeshadow kind of look all over my lid, and I put a little bit underneath, and I put the blush on. I had put sort of a little bit too much, so I was trying to tone it down a little bit. So we'll do some highlighter, and then we'll get to our mascara and lip. Let's do the lips, because my lips are feeling a little dry. I'll put this on real quick. Okay, so what was I saying? So the father, or this doctor of science, or there is a name for him. I'm not sure what he is. He's not dead. He is somewhere. They find, Monty finds out what is really, down with the father. And so now he's trying to figure out, okay, so now his thing is, I have to get to this man. I have to get to him and find out how to open this box, and, tell him this is for my friend, So that's pretty much, I don't want to really tell you anymore, because then I'll kind of give away the book. But you learn a lot more about Felicity. She was supposedly going to finishing school, but that she was not wanting to go to finishing school. She becomes like I want to call like a critical character, but she becomes like a good part of the book. I really like her character. I'm just gonna say that. Yeah, I think that's all I'm gonna say, because if I say any more, I'm gonna give it away. But I mean, the book kind of course you get it. It's not like a cliff. I guess it is. No, it's not like a cliffhanger, but you can tell that there's more. There's gonna be more. Like, there is a book. The next book is Felicity's story, which I kind of want to read. It might be a good little listen just to see what happens with her, because she kind of finds her way along this journey that she takes with Monty and Percy. Monty and Percy find their way with each other, and how they're going to deal with Percy's disease and things like that. You find out what happens with the box and this doctor of science guy, as well as like his son and daughter. So it kind of all comes to, you know, like most books, kind of comes to a nice clean close. But yeah, there is like, you can tell at the end of the book there is more. There's going to be more, and there's definitely Felicity's story. So I don't know if you'll get more of Monty and Percy. You might in this story. I just really enjoyed it, and I thought it was definitely something different than what I've been talking about on my channel. I'm mostly into mysteries and thrillers, things like that. So this was just something light and fun to read, and I just really enjoyed. Well, I'd like to say I listened to it. I just really enjoyed listening to it. The narrator was fantastic. If you're into young adults, this is just a very light, nice little read. Whether you decide to read it, I think the cover is super like Monty-ish. I can like, this totally describes Monty in the book, so I can definitely see that. So yeah, so check it out. I hope you enjoy it. All right, we're gonna do some eyelashes because my camera is on its last leg. So this is the YSL mascara in Vinyl Couture. I got this as like a sample. It smells really good, y'all. But I've really been liking it. It's very lightweight, a good sort of everyday mascara, very comparable to the Lancome Monsieur Big. Very comparable to that one. Same kind of formula. They're both, like the other one was sort of a wet formula. I've already went through that little sample. It dried up. I really like that. I need to get the full size. But this one is good as well. And I wore this one on my bottom lashes just to see what it would do. And it didn't smudge. So we're gonna use it on our bottom lashes today. Alright, so that's just one coat. I'm gonna do a second coat. Again, you just have to like be careful because, like I said, it's kind of course this is a little sample. I've been using it for a while. It's sort of drying out on me, but when I first started using it, it was super wet. So just be careful with that. But it has, of course, like I said, this is just a small little sample. It has dried out a little bit since I first started using it, so it actually works out a little better the more you use it. I don't know how the full size will do. Alright, that is it, y'all. Let me take this down. My hair. That's as good as it's gonna get. So that is gonna be it, y'all. I hope y'all enjoyed this little book talk. I really enjoyed this book. I thought it was just something different and refreshing to listen to. Definitely if you're an Audible person, I do recommend trying the audiobook because I really enjoyed the narrator. I thought he was really good. But anyway, as always, I'll have everything listed down below. Everything that I used, including the books as well as the audiobook. And yeah, oh yeah, I'll put the selection down there too because that was like the last young adult little series that I read that I really enjoyed. That's it. Y'all have a great weekend, and I will see y'all in my next video. Bye, y'all.